Hello Photobuzzers, it's Andrew James here with another Lightroom tutorial for you, and we're talking presets. Now, I've done a video about presets long time ago, and I think it's got lost in the system somewhere, and I was chatting to Charles Thody on the chat lounge, and he was asking some questions, and I thought this is a good time to update that lost video tutorial because there's a few things that have changed anyway, and it's a good reminder if you're not using presets on a regular basis, how to do it. I mentioned profiles then accidentally because we're also going to look at how you apply a preset at the import stage, and that might be a profile, for example, because that's what Charles was wanting to do. But we'll come back to that later. The first thing to understand is how to create a preset. Now, why would you want to create a preset? Well, a preset is it's basically it's a look, isn't it? So if you do some processing on an image and you really like the look, then it's a good way to save that overview, so you can apply it to other images, either on that import or just on individual images as you choose. So I've got a picture here of my friend Tim. He's much friendlier than he looks, I promise you, but I borrowed his character face because I needed to do some shots for a magazine. So and that was all about turning that into sort of a kind of a really contrasty, impactful, detailed, black and white, gritty image. So let's just go to the develop module, because this is where we have to work. And over here on the left hand side, don't often look on the left hand side, we have our presets panel. If it's closed down, it'll be it's at the very top, snapshot history collections underneath. You can see already, I'm sure you've explored some of these, that Lightroom has its own presets for you. If you want to play with those, I don't bother to play with those myself, but we're going to create our own. But before we can create our own, we've got to apply some changes to our image. So that's the starting point. So what am I going to do? Well, obviously I'm going to click on black and white. Let's turn Tim black and white. And then because we're going for this gritty monochromatic look, I'm going to whack up some of the presence sliders. So we're going to get texture right up 53 there, clarity around the same 57, and dehaze to about 20 there. Look, instantly that's making a difference. Maybe I'll bring the highlights up a fraction just to create a little bit more contrast. And then I guess it's a portrait, isn't it? So we could also go down to the effects panel and just put in a little bit of a post-crop vignette just to kind of darken off those edges. It's not going to do much at the top because it's all black anyway, but at the bottom that kind of works. Now, I'm not going to do anything anywhere else. I'm not going to touch transform. Oh, I suppose what we also should do really is we should apply any kind of lens corrections as well as a default. So I'm just going to add those in as well. But I'm not going to do any, as I say, any localized. So I'm not going to do any local changes. You can save local changes, of course, but you probably wouldn't want to apply those across a whole load of images. So these are all universal or global changes that we've done. So having done that very simple little bit of processing, I'm going to go back to our presets panel here, and there's a cross or a plus symbol on the right hand side at the very top, and I'm just going to click on that. We get this drop down, and I want to create presets. So I'm going to open up that, and we get a dialog box. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is give this a name. Well, it seems to me, looking at those people who sell their presets, that it's very important to give it some kind of I don't know, sorry to use the word, but poncy name. So we're going to call this one Noir-T-1. There you go. So just in case we're going to do Noir-T-2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever, we've got that option in there. So our Noir-T for Tim is the name. The next thing we need to do is when you open this up, you might find that you have things ticked on here because perhaps you played with it at some point or whatever. The best thing to do, I think, is just check none from the start. So start with none and then just go through the different things that you've done. So now this is really important because we've done a black and white one. We must tick treatment and profile. Okay, so I'm going to tick that. If you think that the B&W mix, which can catch anybody out, is the thing to tick because you've gone to black and white. Well, you're wrong, because if you don't tick treatment and profile, then you will not save this profile as a black and white profile if that's what you're doing. If you're doing a color, not such an issue, but if you're doing black and white, it really is. So treatment and profile I have ticked, and then I just need to read down these and do white balance, any of those. So I did, yeah, texture, clarity, dehaze. We didn't mess around with a black and white mix on this, we kept it nice and simple. We did lens corrections, didn't we? So we did and remove chromatic aberration, what there would be, and enable profile corrections. So I'm going to tick those things there. And also in the effects panel, we did the post-crop vignette. So we need to tick that. So I've done all the things, I've ticked all the things that we created or that we used to create our preset or our look. So I'm just going to hit create. And we should have over here, yep, there we go. Our user presets panel has now created our Noir T-1 preset. Perfect. So all we'd have to do then, let's just pick another picture of Tim from the selection. Here we go. Here is smoking a cigarette. So now if I hover over T, you can see the look we're going to get. So I could just apply that. And if we look over here, it's applied the texture, clarity, dehaze, and our lens corrections, and down here as well our post-crop vignetting. So that's perfect. So we've now created that, and that's going to sit there in our user presets sort of panel for us to use in the future. Okay, now, as I said, Charles's question specifically was about importing a preset. And what he wanted to do, he found that he's using an Olympus camera, and that his camera matching, which was a standard, it was not being recognized by Lightroom. So it can't have been updated to include that. So he wanted to change it to Adobe Standard. So it'll be quite similar. And rather than just have to go, so let's just pick an image here, another image. Let's take this one, another starting image. So rather than, if we go back to the top, rather than just having to go, okay, so I want to put Adobe, so it'll come in as the profile come in as a Adobe color, I think, as default. Rather than having to go in, browse, and then go down and select standard every time, he wanted to import it from the very start. So when you put the images in, they will come in as Adobe Standard. And you can, but the only way that I know to do it is to create a preset. So that's what we're going to do. So having done, we're already in the profile browser. So let's go down and let's select Adobe Standard. Obviously you could select any of the profiles that you want. This is for Charles. So Adobe Standard, there we go. So it's in there. Now we're not going to do anything else, because that's the only thing that we want to use as a user import. Okay, so having done that, we then need to go back to our plus symbol here, and we need to create a preset. And we're going to call this, makes sense to call it Adobe Standard Profile. Oh look, I've even typed it right for once. Excellent. So I'm going to check none. So we're at the starting point. The only thing I've done is I've done a profile. So I need to tick treatment and profile. That's all I'm going to tick. So I'm then going to create that. There we go. And should have that now above our Noir T1. We should now have Adobe Standard Profile. So if I was to hover over this or select the next picture along here of Tim there, and I was to click on Adobe Standard Profile, there we go. It's changed the profile to Adobe Standard 1. But of course, Charles's specific image was, how do we import that? How do we do that from import? Well, pretty straightforward. So we're highlighted on Adobe Standard Profile, and then we're just going to hold down Control, and we're going to drop down the menu to apply on import. We're going to select that, and that's going to give us a little plus next to it. And that shows that when you come to the importing stage, as long as you select that, it's going to apply that profile to every image you put in. Let me show you that. So I just need to go to a point where we're going to be importing images. So I need to use a little bit of magic of editing to get us there. And there we go. We are now at the import stage, and you'll recognize this, I'm sure, from importing your own images. So I'm not importing directly from a card into Lightroom. No, I've already loaded some these images into a separate hard drive, an external hard drive. It's my Andrews 2 terabyte drive. I have various different drives that I work from, and these are some old Bamber Castle images. It doesn't matter what the images are. What is important is that if we look over on the right hand side, we have two panels. We have file handling and we have apply during import. So I'm not worrying about file handling, it's the apply during import. Now, because we set the Adobe standard profile that Charles wants before, it's showing here in the develop settings. So that tells me that if I load these files in by going down to import and clicking on import, and it'll import them, it will apply right across the board the Adobe standard profile. So it's that simple. If you've told it you want to apply automatically on import, then that's what it will do. But it's also just worth thinking, what if I wanted to apply our TIM our Noir-T-1 on import? Unlikely, but you never know. And I had the Adobe standard profile. Well, instead of that, all I'd have to do is I'd just go down, I'd open that up, go down to user presets, and then I would select Noir T. And then when I loaded these images in, they would all have the Noir T1 profile. They wouldn't have Adobe standard because I didn't put that as part of that particular profile preset. So anyway, hope that's not overcomplicated it, but basically Lightroom will always do what you tell it to do. It is that simple. And I hope that was useful for anybody thinking about playing with presets. And for you, Charles, particularly, you now know how to create a preset and also, importantly, how to apply it on import. Anyway, until next time, photo buzzers.